Welcome to Breakdowns with Bromley. Today I have the illustrious Ryan Pham, who is my favorite judge.
Well,
He's like one of two judges that I've ever seen. So, I mean,
it's a high bar.
high bar. But a lot of players like, I mean, I guess new and old, because there's got to be tons of local players who have never actually met you because you're head judge, but you go to these big events that they need a head judge for, right? And I've always found you as a judge, measured, fair, and professional, and above everything else, kind, which I think are four really great qualities to have as a judge. But also helpful all the time. Anytime I've had some stupid LGR question, I've come to you and you've been like, "Shut up, Chris Bromley. That's not how it works." You know, like, and I think it's a pleasure to be around you. I think that everybody in the community has a special place in their heart for Pham. You know, and I wanted to hear your story as not just like judge, but also as the other hats that you've worn as a through your career with UFS. I'm sure you were a player, and you were judge for a long time, and also designing cards. So that's what I wanted to get into. And I know I heard that you were furloughed because of the quarantine, because there's no like events going on and such and such. And if you wanted to talk a little bit about that, I'm super down. That's cool. Actually, I'll throw the floor to you if you want to get some stuff out.
Yeah, totally. So, like Bromley said, I was furloughed in mid-April, and now I'm here.
That was here.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, my story as a player. So, honestly, where I want to start with that is like I played Magic for 5 years leading up to like UFS, and thank God that I played Magic, because Magic gave me a brain. Honestly, it taught me how to think.
Okay.
Like legitimately, like, I like want to win. Well, you should probably use your brain and try to strategize a little bit. Okay, let's try to do that. And then so I like started with aggro, and then eventually I found my way to control, and then eventually I got sick of Magic because I fucking hate getting mana screwed or mana flooded or whatever. And I started to play a lot more board games during that time, and I found this game called BattleCon. And BattleCon, if you don't know, is the set that Indines is based off of. And so I was playing BattleCon, and I like loved BattleCon so much. I got like all my friends into it, and they were having this tournament at Gen Con. And so I was like, hell yeah, that sounds awesome. I've never been to Gen Con. I love board games. There's a tournament for this thing that I love. I'll go. So me and my friend went, and I think it was on Friday. I went to the level 99 booth or whatever, and they had like some badges, but the tournament wasn't until Saturday. So I was like, okay, well, let's just walk around, check out the whole show. There's so much, like Gen Con's huge, there's so much stuff. And I was walking around, and the legend himself, Chris Smith, is actually how I got into the game. He was like, I had like a little BattleCon button, and he had seen it, and he was like, hey, we have those characters in our game. You want to check it out? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, it's a fighting card game. I was like, oh, I like fighting games. It's a card game card. All right, I'll sit down. And that was it. I was hooked. I was literally there every single day for the rest of Gen Con. I spent like $200
on Indine stuff, or I guess
no, just on just like UFS stuff in general, because I wanted to get into it.
Well, as a Magic player, were you like a Spike? Yeah, they have the Spikes, Johnnies, and Timmys.
Yeah, I was definitely. I'm definitely a Spike. Yeah,
okay.
Super Spike.
Super Spike player. So you go to an event, and if you win 9 games but lose the 10th one,
oh yeah, I'll be mad. I'm mad. I'm so mad. I'm so mad that I remember like there's so many stories in Magic of me being upset, and I'm like glad that I got to learn like, hey, it's only a game, man.
Well, that's like a complete juxtaposition with how you are as a judge.
That's why why I'm the judge that I am, is because of that I'm a Spike thing.
The most like Zen guys that I play like games with are usually guys who used to rage real hard. So that tracks, right? You have to, in order to achieve Nirvana, you have to have seen some shit, so to speak.
For
Um,
sure.
that's super great. Okay, so you came in around Indines, and Chris Smith brought you in. That's
Yeah,
fun.
my first set was Battle for Power. I think it was like the sneak peek for it was at Gen Con or whatever, and then the set released like a couple weeks after.
Cool.
Uh, yeah, I actually remember my experience very much. It was I bought the Mega Man and Proto Man decks, and then I got my friend to buy Morgan and Lilith, and then they gave the two promos at the time, which was Ryu and Scorpion. And I was a moron. I was like, oh my god, Mega Man's my favorite character. Let me just play Mega Man. And then I went to go play on Saturday night with them, and they were destroying me. I was like, fuck, damn, I'm bad. What the hell? I don't understand. And then one of them was like, here, just put Ryu on top. Oh, you have this Eligor stuff? Here, just put these cards in there. And then I was just like trying to swing at motherfuckers on turn one with Ryu.
Apparently, that kept working too well, right? Like people were swinging that table way too well.
I think that, you know, when I think about the start of my UFS career and how my UFS design has gone, man, they should not have given me Ryu too. That's such a terrible idea.
As like an opener, right? Like that's
Like
that's what you have to show you UFS.
It's like I'm cheating. I'm not playing. I was just like not playing UFS for like the first like 4 months because Ryu is so cheating. It's like, oh, control checks. Hey, don't worry about it.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Just check fives.
Okay. So how did you evolve from player to judge? How did that happen?
So after Gen Con, UFS more or less died for me because I actually couldn't get any of my friends to it because UFS is really complicated.
Yeah. It's definitely hard to get into.
I managed to get one friend into it, but he was like at college, and so like he was there for the summer when I got back from Gen Con, and then he was gone for like most of the time. And so the closest playgroup to me was the San Jose playgroup, which was like a 2-hour drive, which I made like once a month, just so that I would have any chance to play UFS because I was like, yeah, I just like needed it. I just needed the fix.
Right.
I met a bunch of good guys down there, and they got me to keep playing. There was a PTC in San Jose that was like I think like a month or like in like October. It was like a week before U.S. Nationals. You can see that the great schedule planning has always been Jasco's feature.
Yeah, the stamp of
Staple.
approval. Yeah, staple for sure. Yeah. How'd you do at that PTC?
I actually got 8th.
Nice. Playing Ryu?
Absolutely. I remember I got Double Jeopardy by Yari playing Turbo Man. I played so bad. Oh my. Okay, so I want to talk about how stupid I am. This is even now I don't have a brain. So I was playing Mewtwo and I had this Eligor foundation that lets both players put a foundation to the top of their deck so that it keeps us at deadlock or below deadlock, or whatever, before it was a
Armor
thing.
Expert, I think, right?
It is Armor Expert. And I thought I was so smart. Like, I'm so good. I'm keeping them off like a bajillion foundations. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Yari has Hunt for Spiders and Dragons downstairs that he keeps putting on top and then redrawing
and then
replaying them.
Yari is a cheeky dude. That's funny.
So bad, dude.
That's funny.
So I got 8th. I got bodied. Well, I mean, I just didn't. There just wasn't. I just didn't know. At the time, I was still like, my brain just was just not in a spike mindset. I was still like trying to wrap all of the mechanics in my mind of like, how do you form a strategy in this game? I don't get it. I was just like playing cards and praying.
I mean, that's like everybody's first thing in UFS, right? You just like latch onto something you think is cool. Like for me, I wanted to play as the dog. I was like, dude, I could play as this little dog named Ein. That's awesome. And I just stuffed in things that had the same symbols. Like I was playing like big shots in it, and like I didn't have a full play set because I played for a week or something like that.
For sure.
But when it works out for that new player, right? Like when you went off on turn 1 with Ryu, it was like
felt
magic.
So good.
Yeah,
I remember. I remember like turn 1-ing Miles in like some like random game in like that Gen Con during the like couple games we played, and it was like I remember that I have a story to tell. It's a blast.
Yeah, but that's what captures it, right?
Absolutely.
I think that every UFS player has some sort of metamorphosis where they start as that baby, caterpillar who's like, they found this thing that they latched onto, and then eventually they got a cocoon and read every card on UFS Ultra for 2 weeks, and then they come out as a beautiful meta butterflyer, you know. um, that's super funny. That's super funny. Okay. So continue. You went to the
Yeah, so
PTC
I went
the
to
week
the
before that.
BTC, got eighth. And honestly, the reason I bring up Miles is that Miles is awesome, right? And so Miles is super accommodating and inviting. And so for the Omaha BTC, which was in February, I was like, fuck it, I'll go out. Fuck it. It's only like just $300, whatever. It's like a weekend of work. No big deal. I flew out. I had a blast. Jeremy Ray is one of the funniest storytellers in the world. I remember staying up till like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m., talking and laughing so hard that my face hurts. It's a great time. Did terrible. Oh my God. I remember this match against Phil Birch. So
Did not go well.
I had literally the win. I had the win on board and just flushed it down the drain. And Phil points it out to me. And Phil in classic Phil is like being Phil. And then afterwards sees that I'm like a depresso kid who like doesn't have self confidence. Is like, bro, relax. I'm kidding. Like you'll do okay.
Right. The Phil Birch olive branch.
Yeah.
Patented olive branch.
But I think after that I like kept trying. I went to Worlds, did mediocre. And after that, Shane was like, "You need to stop playing this deck, man. You need to like explore what else UFS has to offer." I think at the Omaha PTC, I was playing a like modified version of CA with like Tengu Dive and Shiranui no Mai from like Phil's deck from Nationals, but stuff had been banned. So I was running like a very like a very adapted version, which was still fun, but definitely was missing its legs. And then I think the next BTC that I ended up going to was the BTC that I got hired after, which was the San Antonio BTC. So I went to Worlds. It was fun. Got to meet a bunch of people. I don't really have a lot to say about Worlds.
Yeah, sure.
It's just I got to go. It was cool. The San Antonio PTC, I was brainstorming a deck a couple weeks into the event with a bunch of people, and we were deciding that I was about to end up playing like Garrett Brett, I think 2, which is like a 7-hand, 17 life character that like cuts himself for like +3 damage. Thank God that I like road tripped to Las Vegas, and then I picked up Shane the judge and then 2 other players. And Shane had 2 decks. He had this Garrett Brett deck that I was about to borrow, and he had Athena. And that Friday night when we got to the place, I tried out the Garrett Brett deck, and I got destroyed. And I was like, interesting. And then I tried out Shane's other deck, and I won. A single game, and I was like, all right, I'm playing this deck tomorrow.
This is the one.
No practice. All right, we're good. We'll go. We looked at all the cards. I definitely misplayed probably 2 people. Athena has an ability where she has to like bring a foundation down, but it has to chain or whatever. And one time, I know my opponent, William Bryan, definitely like caught me like, hey, that is a chain. Ooh, I didn't know. Okay, my bad. And thankfully, it's like he was just like, he takes these backs. He's like, oh, thank God, I'm a noob. Thank God. I love our community. They're so awesome.
I keep saying that's why I continue to play the game.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah, it's the people. The people in this game are great, man.
But yeah, I managed to win the event, and what ended up happening was I more or less noticed that there was like a opening at Jasco after I had gotten back from the BTC. Like they just seemed short-staffed,
right?
And so I was like, "You guys need anybody?" And I more or less did like an impromptu interview, and like 2 weeks later, I ended up moving out there.
Nice. That's quite a turn, right? Like,
yeah, it's very fast. Honestly, like it's really fast. I like found out about it, and then maybe about a year later, I ended up moving out to Las Vegas to try and design and be a judge or whatever.
Cool. Okay. Well, as a judge, what do you think made you the way you were? Like anytime I had, and like, I think I probably have the most judge calls at events, and I'm very sorry for that. Whether it be
No,
from me,
not even. No, not even. You're fine.
okay, but it feels like because I'm not playing, spike one or something like that. People are always like, I don't know what that card does. What is this going on? The Worlds where I played Faye, I think there were like 4 or 5 judge calls in 7 rounds, where people were like,
Does this
Destiny
do
Awake,
that?
yeah, does Destiny Awakened respond when you build it down with Mysterious Mr. X? Does he gain 3 life? And I was like, I've had this call 4 times. Are you sure you want to bring Pham over here?
I
But
mean, it's your 4th call, but it's their first call.
yeah, it's there,
Is the
right,
thing.
right. But at no point, like with most people, and I played Pokemon before, and like judges are terrible in that game. They're all really like grumpy, and you came over, and there was never like the hint of like annoyance in your eyes. You're just like excited to explain the interaction each time, which I think is awesome. Like I think I like if I were to like judge you as a judge, I think that your excitement for the game is palpable, and that makes the rounds go smoother when you're judging things. I love telling the story of you being angry at that one guy because that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Just step back, right? but because you never have to turn it on, right? When you do, or if you do have to, and you have to be stern, I think that people listen. And that's an important quality for a judge. If people don't respect you, then you're not gonna your calls aren't gonna
They
be
just don't. Yeah, if they don't respect you, then they're just like whatever. Just like I don't give a fuck about what you say. Even though
exactly.
you're like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
as the judge, you have to like carry the weight of the room.
yeah. And that's important. So what do you think your best qualities were as a judge?
Well, as a Magic player, I've also had a ton of bad judge interactions, and but I just think back to like a good time that I had with my judge that like made me want to like keep playing the game or really enjoyed it or just any positive interaction with like a judge is like tough to say like part of WotC, but like it felt like they were for me. It felt like they were part of like the culture there, and so like that's what I wanted to bring as a judge. Like that was one of the things that I really loved about some of their judges was like they have that energy about that love. Like I wanted to bring that, and so like each time that I'm sometimes I'm the first judge that definitely the first judge that most people will ever meet. So kind of want it to be a good experience. And that's just what I kept in my mind whenever I try to judge. I try to be as fair as possible because like, well, if I was there, God, I hope that fucking judge is not a piece of shit. Like, please don't be fucking an asshole. And that's what I just try to keep in mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think that comes across. I mean, anytime I've seen you judge, it's always been like, even if somebody's like fucked up beyond belief, and you're like, sorry, dude, you're gonna have to take a loss here. It's never been like, you idiot, like that. This is what it's like. I'm sorry, man. This is the way that the rule is. You have to, you have to eat this out.
What I told Thomas Gordon, like hurts and saves me. It's that I do not give punishments. You guys earned them.
That's really parent like, actually. Yeah, that's very Machiavellian, actually, right? Right, like that's some I like that though. I like that. It's not sinister. I'm not gonna say it's sinister because it would be like I'm not punishing you. Like you did this. It's not my fault. Don't blame me.
Like
right?
these are the rules. Like
yeah.
yeah. Like maybe I don't agree with all the rules, but we've all agreed to them because you guys signed the deck list at the start. So I just enforce what the rules are. Sorry that they suck.
Okay. All right. Speaking of the rules, right? What are like? I'm sure you have some frustration with the living game rules, but what is it like to inherit a rule set as opposed to like before the interview I was talking about how like I would nuke the LGR from orbit and start from scratch, but like what's it like dealing with the rule set that you've inherited and had to sort of curate?
I literally tried to nuke it. That was like one of the first things. There was I think like within the first 3 months, I like started working for Jasco. I like messaged everybody. Was like, so how do I get this stupid transition zone out the game, you know? And then I talked to everybody, and they're like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You should read, like, go read, go learn. I was like, what do you mean? Jason tells me I should get rid of this thing. And then I like read the LGR for like, I don't know, 3 months. I literally just sat and read it again, and again. And I just like read sections, and I like took sections. I was like, I don't know what any of this means. And so I literally broke it down line by line into English. It's like, is this what it means? And then I would go ask somebody, either like Tim or Garrett or any of who are the current like rules arbiters at the time, and be like, does this make sense? And then try to like gain knowledge that way until eventually I felt confident enough, I guess. But yeah, there's a ton of problems with the LGR. What is it like to inherit one? Well, it's really hard, I think. Like, there are tons of things that I like. There are tons of like quirks that you just have to like learn. For me, as a judge, it's the worst because I cannot give someone the LGR and have them figure out every single question they have. Some of the questions are like, hey, what the fuck do you think this means? All right, here's my fiat. And I don't want to have to do that. And that's the problem with the LGR, is that if every time I have to do this, that means there's a problem. And I have to do this, I have to wave my hand way too often.
Yeah. There's I think like the community has some frustration with the Jesco hand wave, right? That we got to figure out a way to make this work, and I mean that's just part of the territory. I mean that's just something that you gotta do, and I can see that being annoying from the other side of the.
It's like for me, what it is like I 100%. As someone who was a spike and a player, I get it. I also like it. Like the fact that there are loopholes means that you guys can like abuse them, and I hate that because like on the other side, it means that I have to deal with you guys, and that's really annoying. But like that's on me. I should not. It should be a way, and so that what you guys have available doesn't frustrate me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's just like so many quirks, honestly. That's just like, here's an exception here. There's an exception over here. But don't forget about this exception.
Right. If this, then it. It's a lot like the English language, right? There's a lot of I before E's except after C's, and also Y, and so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
Can you think of any specific interactions? Like give me one or two specific interactions that you really just want out.
Specific interactions that I want out.
Or perhaps like lines in the LGR that you think are just like, this has got to go. Anything that stands out.
I don't know if there's a specific thing that stands out.
Okay.
I think there's just places where it's confusing. So like a very clear example of where I think it's confusing is if you look at the character card Amy.
Okay.
When it says minus difficulty or the gaining the life and the X is different. I've had
how do you so it says gain with vitality, your next attack gets minus X difficulty and X damage. X equals the number of characters in your staging area.
And so like if you gauge, right? People I've like there's been confusion about whether so like if you don't get the gauge off, is it -1? Or does it like if you get the gauge off, will it change to 2?
Right. When does X get determined?
I personally think that it would get determined at the time, but this is the problem with the LGR is that that's just what I think, and the LGR is not clear.
It's not helping you out with it. Yeah, I remember having this conversation when I was in Virginia, hanging out with Rob.
Yep.
And somebody was, and you know how vocal Rob is, right? But he was like, I don't know. I honestly have no idea. It could go either way. Yeah, I can see that. So a general frustration with like something
just
being unclear.
Thing. Yeah.
Kind
There are
of,
lots
kind
of
of.
times where the other is just, yeah.
I don't know. Give it one of these. All right, cool. I wanted to ask you a little bit about card design too, because I know that is another hat that you've worn, right? As a spike, um, how does that color your design?
Poorly.
As a spike, it's gotta be tough to be like thinking about the Timmys and Johnnies of the world, right? And that's why like in my head,
So,
like that's what Tim's got to like. Tim Friedleaf, I think, is the perfect uh Timmy player, because Tim, when I play him, he's always got such cool stuff, right? Like,
mm,
and like they're underplayed stuff, but he's got specific ideas for what the uses for them are. And that's
it's
not saying
true.
like Tim is a good player. I mean, there's a reason why he's working at Jesco, and he's such a nice guy. But he's not like the guy to go and play Cassandra with 8 attacks and frustrate an entire event. He would much rather be like, well, I found a way to counter that, and it's using this old card that never been in any event, and it came from the Street Fighter set. It costs 25 cents right now. But it's important to like involve those players too, right? Because they're like we were talking about, there are Spikes and there are Johnnies and there are Timmys. Like I'm kind of like the Johnny Spike hybrid. I like to win, but I would much rather play something like ridiculous, like a Galaxy Brain strategy. But for your standpoint, like you're saying, it's hard. It's got to be hard.
So I think, so I got started. So like my first set that came out, I guess, is Platinum.
Mhm.
But the first set that I would say that we got to, the cards that I worked on that came out would be Bebop. And
Okay.
so I don't know, man. You look at the Street Fighter cards and you look at the Bebop cards and you tell me what happened. It looks like someone wanted to win. Interesting.
Hmm.
Wow. Look at that. These cards seem much stronger than these other cards. Interesting.
Well, did that at any point give you pause? I mean, it's giving you pause now, right?
Oh, it's giving me some. I mean, it should have, but it did not. I remember one of our playtesters being like, I died on it too. You guys think this is all right? Like, that was kind of annoying. I was like, you sure? Maybe it was a little unlucky. And so he ran it again and he died on turn like 3. He's like, I don't know, guys. It seems a little nuts. And I was like, yeah, I think it'll be fine. Because I don't know, I'm just kind of blind, honestly, at the time.
Well, as a player
It
who
was
came
just
in,
fun. As a player.
yeah,
So as a player who was playing, I was the one playing the deck. So for
okay,
me, it's fun. It's fine. What do you mean?
right.
But
The
I
concern
think,
is the other guy on the other side of the table.
see, that I think is the biggest. Like that's where no one's looking at that at Jasco. That's
Okay.
like that was like the biggest problem I think until I tried to start looking at it from like 7th class onward. It's like, hey guys, it's just starting to not be fun. Like I'm just dying on turn 2. I don't really get to play the game. Like we need to fix. We need to like that needs to stop happening. And then it's just not happening. Things are getting more and more polarizing.
Well,
I think like my like spikeness is like insidious in the way that it comes out in the design. Like I like to think that I have a handle on it, but when you look at the numbers, what is this? What is this? Why is there a 5 difficulty 3 check 8 damage throw?
I'm sure that Kevin. I've had conversations with Kevin Broberg about all the 4 mid-8s throws. Well, people like big numbers.
I like big numbers, but
everybody likes to see big numbers. And I'll give you some perspective from my end. I started playing exactly when Bebop came out. Right, that was when I was brought into the game, and I loved it, man.
it's fun. It's a really fun set. It's just
so I like, even as a player who got rolled by like a jet chucking missile launchers and things like that. I don't think the game has felt dissatisfying very often, and
that's good.
I mean that. Like it's. I know that things in hindsight seem much worse than especially when you dwell on it, then they really are, you know. And I know that it became such a meme, like the bebop thing. But card games evolve, and you know,
I mean, yeah. Since then, I think that I've tried to roll with the bebop punches as best as possible. Like since bebop, I don't think we've gone. There have been some egregious cards, but no set has been as like above the line as bebop was in comparison to the rest of the sets at the time.
the previous set, right? Yeah. I think that the like from a, I mean, Mortal Kombat had a bunch of bans, sure. I think that everybody and their mother loved the Seventh Cross set as a like a baseline for power on both ends of the table. I think that draft was one of the most fun
really interesting
events I've had casually in the game. Just because it felt like I could take any character and do what I wanted to, right? Now we played with the extra thing, right? And I know you're laughing, but like it's if you took them at their baseline and you had the cards, it felt like, it didn't feel like for example the Soul Calibur 2 set, like or Darkstalkers, right? Like those felt like you got Akuma and a bunch of Akuma cards and then rolled people, or in the case of Soul Calibur 2,
play Astaroth and Astaroth throws,
Chuck big throws people. And Shadow
Yeah.
Slicer, right? And like that's a draft environment. That's a totally separate thing. But I think that it gives you a sort of a peek into the power level of cards.
Yep.
And if people are gonna, their first inclination is gonna be like, oh, this is big number. Me like big number, right? But making it satisfying for the other guy as well is really, really great. Like, for example,
yes,
everybody had this knee-jerk reaction to noob. And in practice, like we've been playing a bunch of these events online, there's a lot of really
interesting stuff that's going on.
Interesting things you can do with it. And it's not just like, I played this spike before Vengeance of the Fallen Angels. Like, and that is remarkably counterable, honestly, by itself. Like noob is super, super neat. It's neat. I don't think it's like as busted as my knee-jerk reaction was. Like, I was like, I don't want to play with this card in the format. My immediate reaction to it. But like, as I got to fool around with it and I saw other people fooling around with it, I was like, oh, this is cool. There's so many, like some guy was playing Quetzal. It was Nick Reagan. Nick Reagan was playing Quetzal with noobs. And like, that's super cool, right? I was playing a Valdo deck where I was dropping a noob on a block and then I pick it back up with Dancing Blades, totally off symbol, right? And like, so having cards that feel good on both ends, offensively and defensively. Like I compare it to Gateway Shuffle, right? I think of it as a juiced up Gateway Shuffle. I think make games, the game state more fun. And I think that there's, since Bebop, there's been a lot more of that. I think that I think that the design has sort of edged on that way, and I'm hoping that it continues to toe that line of like making things that feel satisfying from both ends of the table. And I know you're cognizant of it, you're talking about it, but I only interjected because I don't want you to feel too horrible about it. I do think that the game has since I played, has been fun forever, you know, and it continues to be fun. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have asked you to interview. I didn't think that the game wasn't a blast to play.
That's fantastic, and I love your perspective. I don't know. So like my favorite, putting Mewtwo aside, I actually did have a ton of other decks that I played casually with my one friend. One of the decks that I built was Senko, and Senko took forever. Oh man, I love that deck. I love playing grindy games, and man, I hate Deadlock.
I feel that.
It just like destroys the chance of grind, and it's not like, or rather, it destroys the grind, the type of grind that I like, where Senko sort of like puts this wall, and I was just like grind you out of attacks or the ability to like get through me. And the sort of like defense now is just like, well, you can't get through this, now you die, just instantly.
Right.
Which is fine. And
if I did have a qualm with the game, it would be
it's just polarizing. You just sometimes don't have a chance.
Well, I think Deadlock conceptually is pretty cool. Like, if the effects that were in the format were more like a level up, like okay, I'll
The
compare it
way
to like an
uh,
anime. You guys, sorry.
there's a Bebop card that I think really does Deadlock well. It's like a spike card.
Hmm.
It gives your attacks like +1/+1 and stun one if you're in Deadlock. It's
Cleaning the
great.
fish, cleaning the
Yeah,
fish. Yeah, that's like we've hit a
that's
new
like a great.
benchmark. Yeah, we've hit this benchmark. We're in Deadlock
It's
now.
great. That was
Now
so good.
I've leveled up. I agree with you 100%. That's a card that feels great, and like it puts some uh like permanence on the table, right? Like and I love when games scale to that point. The most fun I've had as a player wasn't even playing the game. It was when I got to watch uh, Barrett Bryant play uh, Dave Wagner 2 years
Oh,
ago at Nats for four
oh,
for 4 hours, and they both went into deadlock. And it was this like huge mind game. It was so fun to watch, even though it should have been boring, right? Because there's not a whole lot going on. But it looked like a chess match, right?
there's a tension.
Yeah, and I think that UFS is wonderful because of that. You know, you have games where it feels like this. You know, everybody's chucking these huge ass rocks at each other. It's like a blast, and we're all like, running around and tackling each other. But there's also, you have moments where you get to, have the brutal, like like
Slow, like constrictor battle of like,
right, a battle of wits. That it feels less important that I had this missile launcher that has all these huge ratings on it and damage on it, and more that I had to outmaneuver my opponent and his defenses in his turn. I had to think 3 turns ahead. And I think having the opportunity for those, not making it the norm. I don't think that it should be the norm, because that would make tournaments a slog. And
this
we
is
already
what this is why I think that UFS. This is why when I say it's polarizing, that's what I mean. It's like between the two spectrums of like chess wits and throwing rocks at each other.
yeah.
Where you like throwing rocks at each other is like dying on turn one, and with chess it's like forever.
Mm.
And sometimes these are good. They're like their ranges within this extreme that's like fun and enjoyable. But they're also when this gets tiresome and it's just too much.
Right.
And
And they get further
I say,
apart.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think where my issue lies is that I wish that the game was like this rather than like this, where the fun is here rather than sometimes it just like whoosh,
Yeah.
people die way too long, or sometimes people die. The game just never ends.
Right.
And I
Right.
wish that I hope that they work, that UFS finds ways to combat that.
Right. To balance those two things. Yeah. I mean,
I don't
like,
know.
yeah.
I don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do.
Okay. So moving along from that conversation, what is your favorite card? It doesn't have to be from right now. Just ever. What's your favorite card?
I'm torn between saying Ryu 2 and Metal Man.
Okay.
Ryu 2 just because it's my favorite card just because I played it so often, and it like really honestly like got me to like love the game without like honestly. It just like was
It
super
has
enjoyable to
sentimental
play.
value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And why
Uh,
Middleman? What makes you say Middleman?
oh man, Metal Man is just so much fun, dude.
He's
He's probably like favorite in like how I like to play the game.
sure.
I just like to attack people, and Metal Man likes to reward you for doing that.
Check this. Oh, look, I got this thing.
My favorite was I think my favorite deck to play is still probably the Metal Man Slams deck, where you just like have like 40 attacks and like 20 foundations, and you just go ham.
I know Jacob Johnson agrees with
Yeah,
you.
that deck. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing is super funny. That's cool that it's a character card, because a lot of people, their favorites would be like an action or an attack, like a big attack. Like my favorite card is Portal Kick. I think that's the perfect. I think that's the perfect card. Because it's well statted, right?
Okay.
It's got a good block. It serves its purpose as a cantrip, right? But it's a synergistic cantrip. You have to fulfill a criteria, right? Like I dislike Nutcracker because it feels like it's got a non-cost on it.
I mean,
You know?
you can draw a card even if you have no foundations, and you just go.
Yeah, but like Portal Kick, you have to like it has to serve a purpose. It's not for every deck. It shouldn't be for every deck. But in the right, I played it in Quan Chi in every iteration I had of it, right?
Mhm.
And it always had a use. It was never I don't think I ever killed anybody with Portal Kick, right?
Mhm.
But it was always integral for the strategy. It was integral for every turn that I saw it or had it. And I think like that, even though shotgun needs to be there. There needs to be the missile launchers, and there needs to be the vicious madnesses to dunk. Right, you need your fat haymaker.
Absolutely.
I think that those utility cards are always my favorite because those are the ones that enable, right? And that's what I love to see is when like Raphael has this attack. Afondo, is it Afondo? It's like perfect for him. Afondo Fendante, right? And it's statted very similarly to Portal Kick. It's a 4 difficulty, 4 high 4 with a 0 high block. And it's like, this is for Raphael. This is a card for Raphael. And Raphael is a 6 high 6 that goes to any zone, right? And it's got a deadlock enhance that adds it back to his hand. So that's cool scaling, right? This is a really neat card, and it's very rarely the card that's going to kill somebody, but it gets you there, right? Those are the cards I really love to see as a player.
I mean,
and
I think that makes. Like this point. I think that makes sense, though, right? You're like a Johnny play. Well, I'm not like a. It's interesting that you want to do an interview with me. I'm actually, I'm a shy person. I'm not very talkative, but I love to answer questions. Man, I love to answer questions. So I think I think as a Johnny player, it makes sense that you like these two like enabling cards, right? They help you like, they're not like the key piece, but they're like the glue that helps like carry the deck together, right?
Right.
Which makes sense as a Johnny player because you're like, it's about all of the individual pieces working together rather than and like the total result rather than just like
one single
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I had a top 10, probably 7 of the 10 of them would be 4 difficulty, 4 zone something, right? Caltrops is up there. Those cards are all like, a lot of times those are the ones that feel really satisfying to play, right? Like when you get that combo off, I guess for me, right? As you said, as a Johnny player, that's cool. That's cool. If Portal Kick is my perfect card, what's your perfect card then? Not favorite, but the perfect card.
The perfect card for me is Ryu 2.
Ryu 2 is the perfect card.
Yeah, like for what Brian wants to do, it makes him not worry. It says, you want to take a 5, bro? Here you go.
There it is.
And you get rewarded for doing it. Not only do I get to take a 5, plus 6 damage. Look at that.
That's funny.
So perfect. I think perfect is like very individualized, right?
Of course. Like, that's why I'm asking you the question.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think there's a correct answer. There shouldn't be.
I think that was like the pivotal thing that I wanted to point out. There is no perfect card. There's just a perfect card for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's important. All right, so I wanted to do a little segment. A few months ago, I like got real bored and I made a bunch of fan cards. And if I were intelligent,
JoJo's, right?
Yeah, I want you to pick apart my cards and tell me why they suck. So I'm gonna put it in the chat. If I were intelligent, I thought of this literally 10 minutes before. What I should have done was a week out, I should have asked people for their cards, but instead you're just gonna stare at my shitty cards.
So before I look at any of these, what was your goal for making these cards?
I wanted to capture the thematics of these JoJo characters, except for the last one, which is one I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was like, "Whoa, this is a cool idea." I wanted to capture the essence of these characters, right? I don't know if are you a JoJo fan?
I love JoJo's.
All right. So you can judge them from that point as well. So the first one I made was Giorno, right? uh, who I was teaching a summer camp this week, and I have them, all these kids in these summer camps play a little ditty for me, and this 9-year-old girl gets up to the piano and plays the Jorno theme. She goes, "Bee-doo, boo-doo-doo-doo-doo," and I was like, "Holy shit!" She was my favorite. She was so talented too.
That sounds awesome.
So this one, I made like a stand for him, but it didn't matter. But I was like, I like the protagonist.
How did you do stands? I'm very curious how you did stands. Yeah, I love the protagonist. JoJo's awesome. What do you mean? Obviously, the show's named after them. Obviously, they're awesome. Come on.
Yeah, they have to be great, right? So I was like, Jorno needs to be generic. So I gave him remove 2 cards because you got to have a non-cost removed card thing from your protagonist, and give it attack -2 speed or +2 damage because I hate overly dramatic. I can't touch that enhance with overly dramatic.
True.
And then remove 1 card with a keyword ability from your discard pile, and after you play a card, it gets 1 keyword ability on it and all of its ratings. And I was like, Jorno makes things, right?
Yeah,
that's his ability.
It definitely fits. I think that so first of all, I think that the symbols you picked for Jorno, without even having looked at his abilities, I felt like very much fit Jorno. And then when I look at the abilities, they like fit the symbols. Well, except for the remove 2 card or whatever, but they fit Jorno, so I don't really care. They fit Jorno, and for me that matters way more than the symbols thing, honestly. Since you're going to capture the thematic of the character, and so I think this is awesome. Like, there's like minor things that I have like nitpicks.
Nitpick it, dude.
Like,
nitpick it. That's what we're here for.
First of all, come on, man. You didn't even spell attack right. What the heck?
I didn't spell attack card right? Oh, I said after you play a card. Yeah, play an attack card. You're right.
Well, no. It says give this ATACK. And if you look at I'm being like, this is how I'm literally.
Oh, I spelled attack wrong.
Is wrong.
I spelled attack wrong.
But that's also, actually, the bottom one is fine because this way you can have stuff gain breaker.
Yeah, you can get breaker on a foundation or something.
Yeah. The nitpicks are like, where you press enter, honestly, where your line breaks are. Do you see a keyword ability and all of this is the sort of the stuff that I have to like pay attention to as part of my job. It's so annoying. And so like this sort of stuff definitely bothers me when I see it on other cards.
Oh, you're definitely going to see a lot of errors in design for sure.
I was like taught to like try and like funnel the words downward, the line breaks downwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see how like keyword ability and the stick out. I would have like broken it so that on the is on the next line so that it just like looks a little prettier.
Okay. This is that's good. That's good input. I mean, making it look pretty is part of the thing. An appealing card.
Beyond that, I think it's fine. I think like because you're trying to capture the mechanics, I like. I mean, technically, remove is like a fire ability, but like whatever. Like Void's fine. We'll just give it to Void. Boom. Add it.
Yeah, there you go. Give it to Void. Yeah, for this
we're giving it to Void now.
All right, let's go to Joseph.
It needs more identity anyway.
So Joseph is a 628 with air, good, and life. And I figured air because, you know, the Hamon, right? He's good because he's good, and life because Hamon, dude, it's life energy, right? It's the sun.
I figured that all. Well, when I look at JoJo, Giorno, and then JoJo, I figured that all the JoJos are just gonna have good in life, and then have like their third symbol be like the branch. It's like this is how they're different.
Most of them have it. Most of them do have good in life. You are definitely correct. I think I gave Josuke. I gave Jotaro fire and earth because I think that makes sense for him in that arc.
Mm-hmm.
But so Joseph is my favorite card that I made because I think that it's the most. I'll see if you agree with me. So it's first F, name a card. Your opponent reveals their hand, and if the named card was revealed, your attacks get +2/+2. And then enhance once per turn. Discard your hand. Reduce the damage of your attacks and attack to 0, and it cannot receive any more bonuses and penalties. So in my head, I was like, Joseph does 2 things, right? He says your next line is X, and then he also has the secret move run away, right? So the first bit is like, your next line is, and X, you name X, right? And then enhance, I'm running away, I'm discarding my hand, and I'm out of here, right? And you know, it goes to 0 because he's running away. He's not there anymore. In my head, this is a flash deck, right? Because you wanna play all of Raptor's shit and give everything +2/+2 with the F.
I like how open-ended your designs are for these two characters. For like protagonist characters, I think that you noticed it. That Jasco seems to make the protagonist a little more easier to play more stuff generally because they're like the popular characters. So like
that's the one they want people to play, or that people are going to want to play. Right? You want to draw them to do that.
And I think the abilities fit. Yeah, the naming the card fitting like very much matches how Joseph is. He like literally just tries to copy.
Okay. All right, let's move along to Jonathan Joestar. Air good order.
5 hand size.
5 hand size. Because he's a slow dude. Like when he fights, he's not like
it's true.
Not quick, right? Like
he just like shoulder bashes people. Yeah, the other yeah.
Jorno is a 7 hand size for sure, right? But I think Jonathan is a 5 hand size guy. I also gave him really busted effects. I gave once per turn, discard everything, and gain X equal to the sum of all the discarded cards controls. Insanity. That's why he's got 27-0, right? Enhance twice per turn gets to give this attack -3 speed and stun 3. And then anytime any of your cards is committed due to your opponent's effect, commit one of their non-character cards and draw a card. Because 5 hand size needs to have draw cards, right? That's important.
Hopefully Astaroth 2 will break that strand, but probably.
I think Astaroth 2 is going to be a terror with Dragon's Tongue, and I hate that. It's just going to play a Dragon's Tongue, kill everything, and be like, hey, man.
Check a 5. You better check this 5.
Check a 5, brother.
Better take that 5 or better take this handshake. Interesting. Discard all cards.
So for this one, like thematically, I couldn't like I wanted him to gain vitality, which means he should have had life, and he doesn't have life. So that feels off. Yeah, we've already established we don't care about that stuff, right? And then I felt that Jonathan was this like slow hulking beast, right? And then when I gave him the symbols, I was like, I don't know, order. He gets stunned. This one's lame. I'll even admit it. I could have done better.
Hey, bro, I've been there.
All right, but I think you'll like Jotaro and the Star Platinum.
Yeah, for Jonathan, it's a little. I don't really know. Yeah, it seems like really difficult to like. So, as someone who's been working on UFS, I very much struggle with the anime characters because some characters are just tough to struggle to play into like a package, and like, I think that's what UFS really wants. They just kind of want like a package that I can like tightly, neatly wrap.
Yeah, you want a little bow and whistles and stuff.
And then for Jonathan, it's just like I don't dislike these abilities. I just don't know if they fit Jonathan per se.
Okay, I take that. I will agree with you as well. Moving on to Jotaro and Star Platinum. So I gave him 5 hand size, 33 life with Earth, Fire, and Good. And he gets to grab Star Platinum, which is a 6 check or 6 difficulty 1 check asset with no block.
And he gets his stand. Awesome.
He gets his stand, and then he shuffles his deck, right? And then it's enhance this card top 3, give this attack +3 -3 damage. Big boy, 5 hand size, and he's got -3 damage because he's got Earth, +3 damage because Fire. I did the thing with the symbols, fam. You should be proud of me.
Nice.
Okay. And then enhance your turn, flip one of your foundations and flip one of theirs, right? I think that's nuts. But to me, like, it's frustrating for a player that Earth feels like better good symbol half the time. Like, there's all this wonderful stuff that's like, I've flipped your staging area, now I get to dunk. And then, but like that, it just ends up being like,
just people just play the generic.
Yeah,
like,
nobody does
stuff.
that. Yeah, they're just like, I'm gonna play all these balls of stats. When like there's so much cool stuff, man. Like Flight of the Wicked, Mexican Typhoon, what's the Astaroth 2 check? And it's got insane stats. All this stuff is so cool. Deep Scar is so interesting, right? You get to choose the 3 things they flip. That could be a neat cyborg card for good decks at this point. I mean, but like there's so much cool stuff, and I think that like Bell is wonderful. and like this targeted that criteria of like targeting flip things. Akuma 2 does it too. I think it's just something that people don't tap into enough, and part of that is because of the speed of the game, right? Like the flip play style is kind of hard to do because it doesn't innately have like a turn 2 plan. It's just like, oh, well, I might roll you with these giant attacks that I drew, but most of the time they play a little more of a measured play style. And I think it's effective. It's got it just, there's so much of this great support for it. And I thought that Jotaro would do that, right? He doesn't really give a shit what you're doing. He's just gonna walk up to you and punch you, right? And the asset does that, right? Like it's what it should say is that it cannot leave Jotaro, like it's treated there. You can't. But I think this is probably. I just did first drafts on all these, right? This card cannot be destroyed. Sealed,
you should just be like, no touchy. Just
no touching. Yeah, this is a fan card. I should just say no touching this, right? Then respond twice per turn after you take an unblocked attack. Add the top card of your deck to momentum. Get momentum. Oh, I'm going to take it. And then enhance discard top 10. Give your punch attack multiple 100.
Perfect.
Because you got to aura.
Oh, you do have to aura. Oh, Kiba. Oh, shit. Wolf's Rain.
So Wolf's Rain is my girlfriend's favorite anime. So I've been printing cards for friends. I think you saw my some of my.
I think I have
cards.
seen, yeah.
So I printed these ones out for her, and I love Taisei as like a character.
Concept?
As a concept, yeah, that like changing from 8 to 5-hand size. It's just in like dying to Bing after fatality feels so bad as a player, right?
It's a cool concept. I don't know how our execution is. It's cool though.
It is cool. I think that a lot of the 7th cross stuff felt like it feels awesome. It feels very cool, but it feels like
the power level was just
we're being a little bit careful. I wouldn't say that, like I think the power level is fair. I don't think any card in that set feels like awful, except for maybe like Consumption, which is only good for this one loop, right? But like in general, I feel like it was like we're being a little more careful about this. We don't know how Gauge is going to work. Maybe it's going to be too strong. Maybe not. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. And I appreciate that. But I was like, what if Taisei were the opposite? What if he was a 5-hander who starts the game and then when he wants to go in for the kill, right? And I think conceptually it made sense for Kiba, right? Because he's kind of that guy. Like he doesn't want to fuck with anybody. But when he's going to turn the switch on, he goes for the
it's throw, over, yeah.
Right. So the static is while either player's in desperation, you can search your deck, discard, and remove from game pile, and attach Kiba and become that. And you discard, and then the static on Kiba 2 discards the Kiba 1, and you draw up to your hand size. So no matter what stage of the game it is, you draw up to 7 cards. Brutal. And I built this deck, and I played JJ after against his Talum deck because and we had fun with it. We were laughing around. But I thought conceptually this hit all the right notes for this character, right? Like he is a little bit more measured. I like good symbol stuff. We're picking up Face Down Foundation. So you saw something, hit me.
Well, I mean, I made Andy.
You made Andy.
I love good simple stuff. I mean, Metal Man's my favorite character. He's just like the precursor to all my good stuff designs. Metal Man just doesn't have good.
He just doesn't have good. He should have had good.
Yeah, that 5-hand size against is very strong. He just replaces a card.
Yeah, kind of
and
like
builds your foundation.
Pseudo 6-hander that builds one when he does it. Yeah, mm-hmm. I thought it was it when I wrote it down. This is the only one that I've made like a deck for. Because I liked it conceptually as a player. I love the good symbol as a player. And I was just like fooling around with friends before Worlds because we were all really tired of playing our meta shit. Mm-hmm. And it felt really fun to have that like decision to make, right? That you replace a thing, and it was fun. And then what ended up happening is my opponent would go into desperation, and I would be halfway through a turn, and I would drop to 7 cards, and then I would fail my last check and go into their turn. They'd kill me. Which I think added a layer to the game where I was like, you had like I wanted to go for the throat, but I'm not good at that as a player. Somebody else might like you give this character to Phil Birch, and he'll fucking wipe the floor with people because he knows when to go for the throat.
Yeah, that bottom character, that dark form is something else. Holy moly! I like it. I actually really like it. I like the interplay of how you're removing the top 5 in the second form when the game is closer to the end.
Mm-hmm. There's some risk versus reward there. I think that like 5 is an amount, right? Like
5 isn't yeah,
that's enough for you to be like, that's half a cycle, you know. And then I think I figured that later in the game when you would be playing this character, you're not going to have that many attacks left in your deck, or there might be only attacks left in the deck. So hitting that 5 is going to be super key and super important. But he's only hitting for statted, right? He's not touching damage. He's just so if your opponent manages to stop your
so like the way that I look at the wolf is like it's literally just going for the jugular. It's like, well, if you once you have the teeth in your hand, you like turn into the dog, and then it's like +3 speed, and then you just hopefully roll 5s all the way through on both your attacks, and then clearing them. But it was deal.
Oh yeah, this is I love this art. This is my favorite art. It looks nuts, but it doesn't work with the. I'm sure you have lots of complaints with the template. Yeah, I just love that picture. It is really gorgeous.
It is. This guy looks so annoying. Jesus.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. It's like that's what he does. It's like his blood hurts people, right? And then
freezes time.
He does freeze time.
That's how I do. I gave the vampire life and evil though, you know. So I have to get brownie points for that, right, Pham?
Should have given life and evil. He should have there's some like very. So as a designer, I've gone through and looked at every card in UFS Ultra at least once. I've like spent so much time on UFS Ultra.
Sure.
And they used to like give their designs used to like give other characters symbols. I've always wondered if we could figure out like an actual interesting multiplayer format.
I know Keenan he's brainstormed some like a boss battle where there's like a boss deck and then you have to play your stuff into the boss deck and it was like 3 players.
I was thinking about trying to have like what like a 2v2 format would look like. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway.
They have to share a card pool, like one big card pool. They tap each other in. That's an interesting thing. If I were to trust somebody with it, I would trust the great Ryan Pham. I think that you could make it happen. Hey man, I interviewed Kevin Broberg about Eternal, and then 2 months later, we got an Eternal event coming up. So you never know.
As a designer, actually as a person, the way that I think is that I just like to go in lots of random, different, weird directions. Sometimes that's good, and a lot of the times it's not. We got Kira.
Yeah, so the next one is Yoshikage Kira. This one I thought thematically was really easy to do, right? He just likes hands, and he drops a bomb. You know, he's pretty easy to nail, right? Kind of like Dio is, right? We have this freeze keyword, may as well just put that on him, right? But reveal 1 card from your hand. They show you one of their cards from their hand, right? If they're the same, I get to draw a card, right? He just likes hands. Easy peasy. That seems fun. And then I guess that should probably give him void for that. Sorry, Pham. I didn't think that hard about it.
Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. Desperation hits. If this deals no damage, my next one gets 6. Which I thought was a little bit more fair than Scorpion.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I looked at the desperation and I looked at the symbol, was like, is this a balanced Scorpion? And I looked at the side it's like, X. Yeah, the bottom of it is a balanced Scorpion.
Yeah, that was the sort of inner thing. I was like, how would I make Scorpion more satisfying, right? Like an actual like interaction with my opponent. And I think that's how I do it, right? Like if you're gonna block this guy, the next one's gonna be nuts.
Oh man, Scorpion used to be. I remember the first initial design for Scorpion. So ridiculous. It was just like So now it's like +6 now. Before it was just like, hey, what's what are you at? Your desperation? It's at half? Well, we'll just leave it that. How about just X, whatever your desperation is? What? How did you guys even think that would be okay for half a second? What do you mean you had +14 damage to an attack? No! Get out of here!
Well, isn't there a J Talbane attack that does that? It just makes
Yeah,
this attack lethal.
Yeah, but imagine that on our character.
Putting it on everything. Yeah, I don't think that Scorpion was actually problematic until the desperation throws became more prevalent, right? He becomes much more annoying when you have these 8 damage printed throws that are also giving 6 more damage on top of them in desperation.
What is this? You may not play Foundation or Asset cards as forms.
Oh, this is one that I woke up like a few days ago at like 3 a.m. sweating, and I was like, I have an idea, and I wrote it down. I just like this character.
Build a Foundation or Asset. You build a top. How do you? Can't you just play 59 attacks?
Yeah, you could. You absolutely could, right? 59 card attacks. How do I make that?
How do I make that Foundation for minus 2 speed? I mean, like.
So I had a few ideas for what his ability would be. I had like making a 5+. I had like destroy a Foundation, they commit 1. But I thought it would be most satisfying if you unflip the Foundation, right? Because if you play Foundations, right, for like good checks and blocks so you can make those attacks, you could feasibly do some cute shit by unflipping them. Like, what if you had a really busted flip cost Foundation? You found some way to get into your staging area, right? And then I think, like, in my head, I love stuff that warps the game, right? Like, everybody hates Raptor. I love Raptor. I love that shit. You know.
I mean, yeah. I feel like this is a very Johnny card.
Yeah. But the thing is that everything is in the opponent's like.
Hand. Yeah. This one you don't really have control of.
If they think that they can ooga boonga better than you, they don't have to build. But at the same time, if they have like great deadlock cards, they can just put you in deadlock. You know. They're like, you have no control over this. You're going into deadlock, right? And I'm gonna roll you. You have no defense because you can't build assets or foundations unless you're doing something cheeky with like Scarlet Meteor or something. And of course I gave it the classic patented Chris Bromley, fuck overly dramatic. This gets -2 speed or +2 damage.
I guess that was something that I would get rid of. I would get rid of bonus. If I could just cut something from the LGR, going back to that question, I thought of something, a specific thing. I would cut bonuses and penalties. This is why it was the way that it was, that overly dramatic is the way that it was, is that I wanted for Bebop, I'm going to get rid of bonuses and penalties. They're all just going to be modifiers. Instead of having like big buckets and it's like a thing that's inside of it, we're only going to have big buckets. And then it just didn't happen. And then now we have like overly dramatic that stands out, and I hate it. I hate it as much as you do, probably. Solidarity.
I played Faye for like a year and a half, okay? And honestly, it doesn't really affect her as much as people think it does, right? Like, you get to cancel her for whatever she wants to do. But Faye, the point of playing
Faye activate it so many times that it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to do it eventually, right? I think that overly dramatic is actually kind of healthy in a way. I just dislike it as a player because when I'm playing Kuwabara or something like that, it feels really bad to just sit around and be like, yeah, you did it. You flipped your foundation and I'm not a character anymore. Thanks, buddy. You know, or like Sungmina, right? Like, playing Sungmina is really dissatisfying to somebody playing overly dramatic because all of my power budget is in that enhance, right? And somebody could just, oh, well, I've got this. And like, if they're playing on the fire symbol and they have like I remember Ashley was talking about how she played into somebody who was looping overly dramatic with Black Bear Diner. And she was just like, that was zero fun. That was so miserable as a Sungmina player. Like, it just didn't get to play. And the PTC I won, I played 4 Sungmina in my Quan deck. And I played 5 Earth decks, and guess what came out every single one of those matches? I took out all 4 copies of Samina because there was no point, you know. But I do think that it's healthy. It's healthy with an asterisk, you know, like that sort of thing. Sometimes, like I've become more convinced. Like when I was first started to play, I really hated like silver bullets, like hand cannon and big cyclone. You know, even though I spammed big cyclone with Gravencast Ruins as often as I could.
I mean, it's busted.
It's busted. Put that in my card pool every turn. Nuts. But like sometimes having that like faucet handle to turn when you need to. Like I know Hearthstone developers do that when they make a mech set. They'll put something in there that like auto kills a mech because when players start to play that card, they know there's a problem, right? And that's when they know they have to adjust it. Like if they put this really understated card that counters a certain thing and that starts to see a ton of play, they know that the thing that it's countering is too powerful. So having things like that in the format, I think, is healthy because it tells you if everybody's playing overly dramatic all the time, there might be a problem somewhere where maybe something is getting speed too easily or DRing too easily or something like that. So those sorts of things, I think as a design, like I don't think it's bad design, Pham. I think it's just annoying, and a little bit of annoying stuff is probably good, right? You got to be frustrated so that you can overpower it and persevere, right?
I think. There's honestly no way for me to sum up my feelings on this. It would just take me forever to talk about it. I think, I mean, it's fine, honestly. Like, UFS, there's like a budget, right, for like how many things can like be offensive and it'd still be okay. And I think UFS is fine. There's still plenty of room for. It's such a poor way to put it. I think UFS is in a fine state. I don't know.
Everybody, I think that anybody in your position would probably have the same like feeling. Like there's no way. I've never been happy with anything that I've ever done. You know, like there's always going to be a way to pick holes in it.
Yeah, as like I'm like an artist type, so like I definitely like hate on my own stuff.
Of course. I mean that's the case for any sort of creator, right? I mean that's the way it's going to be. Don't be so hard on yourself. That's all I'm going to say. So I think the great game is great. There's still so many people playing this game even through a quarantine. So somebody did something right.
I mean, as long as you guys are enjoying it, that's awesome. It's the stuff that makes me. It brings that smile to my face.
That's what we want, fam. That's what we want. Okay, so verdict. How shit are my characters?
So so you managed to accomplish what you wanted to do, which is capture the thematics of the characters. So I think they're fine.
Awesome.
You did what you wanted to do.
You heard it here first, guys.
If your goal was to make like standard level characters, I would be like, man, this is just trash. What are you doing, dude? but the goal was to make stuff that captures the characters, and I think you did a fantastic job. Most of the stuff for like Jonathan.
Yeah.
It all felt like that was the type of character. Like if I would come up with something, it'd probably be similar to the stuff that you would come up with.
Well, that's a high praise, if I might say so myself. All right, cool. I get the stamp of approval from the one and only Ryan Pham, guys. Okay, man. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. You want to give a shout out to anybody? I got a shout out to Legendary Wolf Games, who was my sponsor. But
shout outs to the UFS community, man. I wouldn't be here without you guys.
Definitely. Okay, man. Thank you again for coming on.
For sure.